It all started on a rainy Tuesday morning, the kind of morning when the world feels heavier than usual. The cafe smelled of wet pavement and coffee beans, and Emma, a young waitress with tired eyes and a smile she wore like armor, wiped down the counter for the fifth time that hour. She didn't know that the man who would change her life forever was about to walk through that door, drenched, shivering, and invisible to everyone but her. He looked like a ghost of a man, gray beard, tattered coat, hands trembling as he reached into his pocket for what looked like a few coins. The other customers stared for a second, then turned away, pretending not to see him. Emma's heart squeezed as she watched him glance at the menu, eyes full of quiet defeat. She'd seen plenty of people like him come and go, but something about this man, the loneliness in his posture, the way he whispered "I'm sorry" to no one in particular, pulled at her. "Sir, can I get you something warm?" she asked softly. He hesitated, embarrassed. Just a coffee. Black. I'll pay after I find a bit more change." Before he could protest, Emma smiled and tapped her order pad. "It's on the house. Everyone deserves a hot cup on a cold day." He blinked, startled. "You don't have to, I know," she said, still smiling. "But I want to." When she brought him the coffee and a small sandwich, his hands trembled as he accepted it. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice cracking. "You have no idea what this means." She didn't. She really didn't, because that night, when Emma walked home in her thin jacket and counted the few crumpled bills she'd earned in tips, she still had to decide whether to buy groceries or pay the electricity bill. Her shoes were soaked through, and her small apartment felt colder than ever. But she didn't regret that sandwich. Not for a second. What she didn't know was that the man she'd helped wasn't just a homeless stranger. He was someone far more unexpected, and the next day, her life would take a turn she never saw coming. The bell above the cafe door jingled again the next morning. Emma turned, brushing a strand of hair from her face. And then she froze. The man from yesterday stood in the doorway, clean-shaven, wearing a sharp navy blue suit that looked like it cost more than her month's rent. The same eyes met hers, but this time they weren't tired, they were alive, bright, and fixed on her with quiet gratitude. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. "Morning," he said with a smile that made the room fall silent. "Can we talk?" Emma's co-workers exchanged confused glances. The customers whispered. But the man didn't care. He walked straight to her, pulling out a small envelope and placing it on the counter. "I owe you more than coffee," he said softly. "You didn't know me yesterday." Nobody did. But that one act of kindness, his voice broke slightly. "It reminded me who I was." She blinked, unable to speak. "My name is Daniel Cross," he continued. "I used to own this cafe chain, before I lost everything. My wife passed, my company collapsed, and I just stopped caring. I walked away from everything. I wanted to see if kindness still existed in the world. Yesterday, I found my answer." Emma stared, her hands trembling. You own this place?" He nodded. "I did. And I will again. But today, I'm here for something else." He took a deep breath. "You see, when you gave me that coffee, you didn't just feed me, you reminded me that goodness still breathes in quiet corners. So, I'm giving this cafe back to the people who deserve it." He opened the envelope, revealing a letter and a set of documents. "Emma, I want you to be the new manager here. Starting today." Her knees nearly gave out. "Wait, what?" "No, I can't." "You can," he interrupted gently. "You've earned it. You showed compassion when you had nothing to spare. That's what real leadership looks like." Tears welled in her eyes. Around them, the other workers clapped softly, stunned. Daniel smiled, his voice softer now. "I've spent years surrounded by wealth, power, and pride. But the richest thing I've seen is a young woman who'd share her last dollar with a stranger." Emma covered her mouth, overwhelmed. "I was just doing what anyone should." Then why was it only you? He asked quietly. The room fell silent. From that day on, Emma ran the cafe with warmth and humility. The story spread through town like wildfire. Customers came not for the coffee, but for the feeling she poured into every cup. Daniel visited often, offering mentorship and friendship. They built something more than a business. They built a haven for people who felt unseen, and sometimes, when a shivering stranger walked through that same cafe door, Emma would smile, hand them a cup of coffee, and remember that everything can change with one small act of kindness, because in the end, it wasn't just coffee that connected them. It was faith, faith that the smallest gesture can awaken something broken, and that the ones who give when they have nothing often change the world without even realizing it. And every morning, when the sun rose over the cafe windows, the bell jingled, and the smell of coffee filled the air, Emma would look up and smile, because she knew that sometimes, the most ordinary moments are where miracles begin.